All right, so as you guys know, I owe you a video about the rear suspension, and one of the reasons why that video hasn't come yet is because there are some shock bushings I wanted to install that I couldn't get in. So obviously the coilovers are installed, they're right there, but this rubber bushing right here gives extra slop in the movement of the shock. And when you have the spring rate and the weight of the car on here, there's extra movement, which I don't think gives me a fair representation of how the shocks feel when this bushing is now having to take on more weight than it was ever meant to do. So what we're gonna do today is we are going to swap this bushing out for one of my SPL spherical solid bushings, which actually has a bearing inside of it and a ball, but it's not gonna have any rubber in it whatsoever. In fact, that's what it's gonna look like when we're done. I already did this side just to make sure that my concept of homemade tools is gonna work. And as you can see, it worked just fine. So let's go ahead and get started. So once the shock and everything is out, you can get to it right here. You don't even have to unhook the top ball joint or upper A-arm for the knuckle, which is one of the reasons why it costs so much for the dealership to want to do this, is they want to disassemble all of this. They want to take off the rotor, the brake lines, the parking brake lines, the tow arm or the spring bucket, camber arms, everything. They want to disassemble all of this and take the knuckle off and put it on a press. And although that's not the wrong way, it's definitely probably more of the right way than what I'm doing, but it's not necessary. In fact, you could do each side in about an hour and not the 4 or 5 hours that's being recommended. So this is one of the reasons why I decided to save the money. Now it takes a lot of force to push these bushings out, so I had to come up with a way to actually pull this thing out. So here's what I came up with. Literally, this is all going to assemble just as you see like this. This is a receiving cup from a ball joint puller tool that I have, and then the end piece, you know, for that. And this allows the bushing as it comes out of the arm, when we pull it this way, to kind of pop out in there, because obviously you need to have the leverage, you know, outside of the cup so that the puller can pull the bushing into the cup. I've got a 1 1/16 socket right here from Craftsman. It's the perfect size to fit inside that knuckle and not touch the sides, but also only touch the metal of the bushing. Absolutely perfect size for this job. And then I've just got some high grade washers and bolt right here. So I'm gonna assemble it together on the car and show you what it looks like. All right, and when it's all assembled on the car, this is what you get. So all you do is you put one wrench on this end to hold it from turning, and then you tighten down this nut so that it pulls the pushing out of the arm and into the receiving cup. And that's really it. That's all it takes to get it out. That tool like that, no, you don't need to pull it off the car and use a press. You really don't. For some of these guys, like down here, these guys you would, but not this one. This one's so easily accessible. It's working! All right, so just to kind of show you guys what I mean by it's working, because you can feel the bushing when it's starting to move. Let me go ahead and disassemble it real quick so I can show you what it looks like, because this is all obviously for, not only because this is fun for me, but also the sake of science. See it? See how it's starting to come out right there? That's how far I've already moved it out. Not hard at all. All right, so it's almost all the way out. I'm just gonna show you the last couple pulls here. Oh, and there we go. The bushing is now out and it's inside the cup. To give you an idea of how much force is used, that nut and that washer are actually now fused together. Yeah, I put the washers on there to keep it from crushing. As you can see, these heavy grade washers, they still crush a little bit, as you can see. But anyway, check it out. There's our bushing. And you can see the socket popping through. Perfect size, look at that. That is absolutely perfect. But yeah, that's how you get the stock knuckle bushings off without taking the car or apart and taking out the knuckle. Now when I get the new one started, I put just a little bit of white lithium grease on the outside. That way it slides in there a little bit easier. And then I take my dead blow hammer and I just, everyone laughs at that word, dead blow. Anyway, then I just tap it in a little bit to make sure it's straight, and then I make a little bit of change to my tool. I'll show you what's different. So this is the difference when I put it back together. You can see I flip the socket around, that way the flat side is against the bushing. I've got no cup on there, just this piece so that I have something to, you know, pull against. I got a shim in here, and the reason why that shim is there is this is not perfectly flat. This side is off by about 5 degrees. So I'm using this guy here to make it so that it's straight and not trying to pull sideways. And then I've got a shit ton of washers on here to keep them from crushing. It takes a lot of force to get the new bushing back in. So anyway, that's the difference there. Now we just tighten it, and as we tighten it, it's going to pull it in, and we just go until this side is flush. And it's literally, this is like 35-minute job is about what it's gonna take on this side. That is tiring. That takes a lot of force. I think way more than you realize. But it's almost there. What happens too is it gets really hot. Everything gets really hot when it's got this much friction in there, even with the little bit of grease I put on there. And so it gets to the point to where everything gets expanded and it gets really tight. Ladies, yeah. And so it starts to get harder and harder to turn. So I'll wait sometimes a minute, let it cool down, and then go back at it. It's got a little bit more to go. I'm just gonna let it cool down for a minute. All right, and just like that, it's in. Guys, it's that simple. Sometimes you just don't have to spend a lot of money on labor to do these things, and that's what I'm gonna kind of hope to show you guys in these videos. And I just dropped a wrench in my crotch. Ow. So there you go, guys, just a really quick video this time around to show you just how easily you could save some labor. You know, I am always, and I said it on the Periscope, I always work on my own cars when I can. And now that I've moved to a place with a garage, it allows me to be able to take extended periods of time to work on some jobs and be able to walk away from it and come back later. That's something I couldn't do in the past because I didn't have a garage. But anyway, I'm always gonna be an advocate for learning how to work on your own cars. Yeah, shade tree mechanics, you know, there's some good ones out there and some bad ones, and sometimes getting the job done might make you cringe just a little bit at some of the methods that you use, but as you can see, with only a few dollars worth of tools, I was able to save myself so much money on this. And I'm always going to be an advocacy for work on your own cars when you can. You know, big jobs like clutches and flywheels and stuff that working on underneath the car is just not easy. Engine rebuilds, head gaskets, so even some head gaskets you can do yourself. But you really have to ask yourself, are you willing to take the risk of possibly breaking it further in order to save money? I feel suspension stuff is really easy. I love suspension work. I'll always do that myself. But you gotta ask yourself, you know, can you afford to break it? Because sometimes you can do, who the hell is texting me? Because sometimes you can do more damage than good when it comes to trying to work on your own cars. Anyway, now that those are in, I can finally get a good feel for the rear suspension and see just how well those MCAs are performing. You won't kind of do like a full walk around of the car because I realize you guys have been pointing it out, and trust me, I know that I have yet to do my own walk around video about my car, and we will do that, I promise. That's probably gonna be one of the next videos. And whoever's texting me right now, stop it, would you? Stop it. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. See you guys in the next one.